Welcome to the White Knuckling It podcast with Justin Burt
No, we got out of the life with the pre-roll.
and Mitchell O'Brien.
It's in his butt.
They share their experiences from white knuckling sobriety to becoming successful and living life in recovery.
Yeah, boy.
Welcome to the White Knuckling It podcast. I'm Justin Burt.
Mitchell O'Brien.
What's up, man? How's your week been?
A little full.
Full.
I've been trying not to speak negative things over my life, so I'm not saying I'm stressed or it was a bad day. So I keep saying it was full.
Oh,
Yeah, keep a positive attitude. Because if you think positive, you're going to be positive.
is that so?
Yep, like my blood type. Be positive.
I think I'm O positive.
Real shit. My brother said that one time. I can't remember. I think we were giving blood, like, as a family. And they asked me what my blood type was. And I said, be positive. And he turns around, like, so cheesy. And he's like, it's not just the blood type. It's a way of life. Like, pointed at her.
That's funny.
Yep. So, yeah, good stuff. I have a question for you.
What's that?
What do you think would be more suspicious to find in somebody's office? Olive oil or baby oil?
Both.
Both?
Both.
One has to be more, though. Like, you could put, like, so 57% suspicion on the olive oil and 63% suspicion on the baby oil.
Well, considering you're white, I'm going to say 55% baby oil
We're not
and
saying-
45 olive oil.
We're not saying...
Because ethnic people will use sometimes
You need to
baby
stop.
oil to moisturize
You
their
need to
skin.
stop.
No,
We just lost 3 listeners.
it really don't matter.
And don't be saying it's me. Like, I'm not saying this is an anonymous person we're talking
Oh
about.
no, it's not. It is you, because people found extra virgin olive oil next to your other work area, and then today you bring out baby oil from your new work area. What kind of freaky shit are you on at work, bro? Let's just call it out. What kind of freaky shit are you on right now?
Oh man. Like, okay, so I told you guys. I explained it. My virgin olive oil is for spiritual reasons, and that's a completely different podcast to talk about that. And then my baby
Weird.
oil is for a craft thing that I want to do with rocks.
Weird.
No. It's fine. It's fine.
It's weird, bro.
I enjoy it. You just let
it's
people
weird.
enjoy things that don't hurt other
It's
people.
weird. And I'm scared because my back's turned towards you in our office. So it does bother me.
You just gotta only feel scared when I start playing the Barry White and you hear me with the olive oil or the baby oil on my hands and I start coming at your shoulders.
No, bro. No. I'm going to request a new office location.
You don't want a free massage?
No, not by you. None of that type of touching. I remember touching you once on your shoulder and you about lost your shit.
You were on my nerves for like days and that was the last straw and I had to like leave. I was afraid I was going to try and never mind. But we've come a long way since then, Justin. We have. And now we're white knucklers.
Right.
Yep. You said you wanted to talk about something.
I did. So, when I went through treatment, they told us to write out a list of goals when leaving. 5 goals, some short, some 1 or 2 like halfway, and 1 long-term like goal like you want to complete. And recently I checked off that long goal, which was getting my kid.
So, have you checked off all those goals? Or
Yep,
the big
all
one?
of them.
All of them? That's awesome.
Yep, all 5 of them. And I told our boss man about it today, and he's like, "Now it's time to create a new list." It only took me almost 5 years, but actually, no. From when I wrote the list, only about 4 years.
Right.
So,
I mean,
not even quite 4 years.
you're what, 47, 48 years old? That's like a
No.
really small percentage of your life.
No, 37.
Oh.
Why are you trying to call me old? You got more gray hair than I do.
Dude, so the old thing.
like your whole side of your hair is going white.
Yeah, I know. It's happening. The salt and pepper thing. And I don't put product in my hair anymore. So when I put product in there, it like hides it a little bit. No.
Well, even the top, as I look at it, you're really going white.
Yeah.
Like, did your son cause that much stress during
Yeah.
his 8th grade year?
Yeah. I'm telling you. And the whole going, like being old thing, I had to sign him up and do orientation and some parent teacher presentation nonsense for high school earlier this week. And I had a little bit of a panic attack.
Why?
It was just like, okay, so I've been sober for 3 years and 8 months.
Yeah.
Almost. More than 3 years, 7 months. 7 months? No, almost 3 years, 7 months. Either way, it's more than 3.5 years. When he was really little, my drinking wasn't as much of a problem. I was pretty present. But by the time he was 7, 8, 9, 10-ish, that's when it got really bad.
Okay.
And even though I had him the whole time, I wasn't the best dad that I could be because of my alcoholism.
All right.
And so the most present I've ever been in my son's life was within the last 3.5 years.
Okay.
So I feel things more and I notice and I remember things better. And when I left here on Monday to go pick him up to take him to the high school to start, the presentation thing, which I thought was orientation, by the way. Why can't you do them both in the same day? Us parents, we have to work, whatever, and rant. A little frustrated about that. But anyway, I was picking him up and it's like,
That's why you don't send your kids to West High School?
Weiss High School.
Yeah. West High School.
Yeah. It's the one for where we are.
It's the hillbilly school in Traverse City.
It's also the biggest one in Traverse City. So, either way, we live over there. So, I don't want to hear the word hillbilly out of your mouth, Baldwin.
There are no hillbillies in Baldwin.
Yeah, there's another name for it. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I had a little panic attack. I had to calm my breathing, take some deep breaths. All the little memories of him when he was a little kid started to flash before my eyes while I was driving home. And I'm like, holy cow. He's taller than me now. This kid's 14 years old and he's taller than me. He's 5'11", 5'11 and a half. Just broke me in height, the height meter. And I'm like, he's growing up, man. He's getting there. And now it's high school, for real.
Yeah.
High school. That's a big deal for me. I got a kid to survive that long.
Man, I just keep counting down the years. I got 5 more school years to go. And you're on your own, little girl. You're going to be knowing what ramen noodles all about. I'm glad you love them. I'm glad you love them.
You're going to kick her out when she's 18?
I don't say I was going to kick her out, but I'm done feeding her. Her food bills are outrageous.
Yeah, my son is too.
Yeah, you can go get a job and buy your own food.
Yep.
Because that's why I said you're going to be loving ramen noodles. I only got to feed her till she graduates high school. Ramen noodles.
I remember when I moved out the first time. And launched a couple times, and ramen noodles were a thing.
Yeah.
There were times where beer was more important than groceries in the bachelor pad, and literally there was one night where it was a couple days till payday, and all there was in the house was tortilla chips or tortilla shells and ketchup.
You ate them.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, ketchup on a tortilla shell. I wasn't touching the Nutella. I knew what my roommate did with that, so I wasn't touching the Nutella.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was freaky. But unless you have something to add to what we're just talking about.
You know, I can't wait for it because our kids are about the same age.
Yeah, roughly.
It's in 8 months she can take driver's training. I can't wait.
Yep, I got to be looking into signing my kid up too.
Yep. It's going to be my first priority when I get her up here.
And you've got a manual, so that would be good for her to learn on that.
Yep. It's going to be her car.
Mm-hmm.
Give it to her when she turns 16.
Nice.
Just give her one.
That'll be cool, man. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Really not sure.
I was given my first car, and then I had to buy the rest. And I've owned like 20 since then.
My daddy bought half of my first car. He said that was the deal. I'll pay for half your first car. I found a 1983 Buick Riviera. Front wheel drive, but still 20 feet long.
Right.
Carbureted for $500. That was my first car. And then, I don't know, I haven't had 20 since, but I've had quite a few.
My senior year of high school, I had 6 different cars. 6.
That's when I got mine, was because I didn't get my license till I was 18.
I got mine when I was 16.
Yep, I wanted mine. I wasn't allowed.
It was, we lived out in the woods, so far away from everything that, you know, you had to drive to get to places. And my mom was tired of driving me back and forth to work because we lived 20 minutes from town.
Yep.
So she was like, no, you're going to get your driver's license. You can start driving. And then when my brother went and got his, she's like, you can drive him back and forth to the driver's training. Yeah, it was, we had a nice little support system in that category.
You'd think that my mom would have felt the same way. She didn't want us driving. So as soon as I could go, a month before my 18th birthday, I went, got my permit. On my birthday, went, took my driving test, the road test, and got my license that day. Drove my car to school that day.
Really?
Yep.
Nice.
I wanted that freedom, man. Freedom.
Well, in your case, though, you guys, right when, because you're the oldest, right?
Yeah.
So right when you were 15, 16 years old, you guys had a traumatic car crash in your family, though.
Yeah.
So it's not so much that they probably didn't want you to have it, because even, especially after that happened, you know, they were even more standoffish. Like, no, I can't lose another family member. I got to protect them as long as I can.
That's the reason. That is the reason. But the way my mom says it now is you were too afraid to go get your driving, you know, to go to driver's training. Because my brother got to, but he's 5 years younger than me, so that got to, like, wear off a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's not how it actually went down. My mom was like, you're probably too scared. And I was like, no, I'm not. And she's like, you probably are. And I'm like, no. And then it's like, whatever. Like, so when I was able to go get my license, I got it. I did deal with a little bit of PTSD later on in life, but not while like driving. Like I saw an accident that looked exactly like the one that we were a part of, and it freaked me out to where like my body reacted and I like had to pull over. But that was only once, so it didn't really affect it that much.
Okay.
But yeah, I really wanted my driver's license, so as soon as I could, went and got it.
Nice.
Yep. So, but I want my son to get that, and you know, we kind of sort of worked on getting him a job this year. Circumstances kind of held him back from that, going between his mom's and our place, and he is still a little young. Like a lot of places, even places that hire younger, really don't necessarily want a 14-year-old.
No, they want a 16-year-old and up.
Yep.
It's hard to find a place that will allow you to work when you're 14.
Yep.
It really is. Like, even bagging groceries, it's hard up here because there's so many people, as far as teenagers go, trying to find summer jobs.
I know that some of the big ski resorts do, like Boyne Mountain. That's an hour and a half away.
Right.
Crystal Mountain, that's like 30 to 45 minutes from my house. They'll hire 13-year-olds for like busboy jobs and stuff like that. But because they have restaurants and stuff.
I think you gotta be 14 now in the state of Michigan
It might have
to
changed.
get a work permit. Because even when I was going through all that, you had to get a work permit at 14 years old.
Yeah.
Like you could babysit younger than that, but to actually work in a business field,
Yeah.
you had to be 14.
Well, as of 2 or 3 years ago, they were still doing it. He got the work permit, but even when I got my first job, I was 16. I started right after the summer I turned 16, and I turned 16 in the spring, and I needed a work permit. So
My first legal job was my 14th birthday.
really
Yep, I got a job doing dishes
nice.
in a little restaurant that my mom worked at. And she only worked there a little while and jumped ship to go to the other restaurant in Baldwin. And then she got my brother a job there. And then I ended up leaving halfway through the next summer because my birthday is in October. So like I worked through the wintertime, a couple days a week, just enough to give me a little spending money. And then I hopped ship the next summer, like halfway through. I went to work where my mom and my brother were at. And I started doing dishes there. That only lasted for like a couple weeks. I'm like, yeah, I ain't doing dishes. How about you show me how to do this, this, and this? And they're like, you can't by law. I'm like, I'm family. I think family excuses a lot of these conceptions. And they were like, well, you are pretty much family, even though we weren't. But our families were really that close because it was pretty much two families that ran the restaurant, Then there was a couple other people that worked there, but not really. It was like mainly two families. And they were like, well, I guess you're close enough. Well, here's how you do this. Here's how you do that. And man, I was doing prep work, learning how to make pizzas, running the slicer, which you're not supposed to do unless you're family.
Is that why you're missing a finger?
No, I got all my fingers. But no, I learned how to make myself useful in other areas of the restaurant. And, and that's something that we have to learn how to do later in life, even in recovery is, we've always done this one thing. Well, now we really have to make sure we expand our horizon and learn new things and to make us more valuable. Well, and it gives us purpose.
And is what you've done your whole life, is it going to be supportive to your recovery life? You got to think about that too.
Right.
There's a lot of industries. The food industry is one of the worst.
Oh, it is. It's why I stayed in it for almost 20 years. And they were like, and I was like, well, this is where I've always been able to find everything,
Yeah.
Someone's either got the pills, someone's either got the bags. And typically wherever I worked was a bar, so there was always drinking involved, after work. Well, let's have a drink.
Yep.
And I can remember being under 21 and an establishment that I worked, and the owner would come in because he worked on the road doing like security stuff during the week. So when he'd come in Friday night, he'd call me out to the bar, sit down, to chat with him, and then he'd be like, "You want a beer?" Well, sure. I ain't gonna turn down a beer.
Right.
Who's dumb enough to turn down a beer? He was like, "Well, beer ain't gonna kill you, and I really don't care."
How old were you?
I think 18. I think I just graduated high school. Was going to college. Yeah, I think 18.
My first job was the only one that had to do with food, and it wasn't really real food. It was the camp store at the Interlochen State Camp. So we bundled firewood and sold souvenirs and made cheeseburgers and ice cream cones and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I knew how to cook. I was a short order cook.
Yep.
And then I learned how to work on a line. And then that's a little difficult because you're not the one controlling everything. So like you have to learn everybody's timing. And then like just know when to cook food that's on the ticket.
Right.
And some people just can't line cook. They could be awesome short order cooks. Like in a little mom and pop restaurant, most of the time they're short order cooks, which means you only got one person cooking and a dishwasher. A line cook, you could have 3 different cooks for your line. Fry cook, charbroiler, grill, maybe even a salad. Like a sous chef.
Yep. Yeah, I watched Kitchen Nightmares.
Yeah.
Or what is it? Hell's Kitchen. That's
Hell's
what it
Kitchen.
And they always do it line style.
Yep.
Yep.
And you had to learn everybody's timing, and if you were off, the food got cold. Waitresses were upset because they're not going to get tips, and that's why you get paid more than a waitress. Waitress makes $3 an hour.
Yeah.
And they really count on those tips, And one job I worked at, we used to get the waitresses used to give us like 25% of their tips because the owner felt. And this is what he said. He goes, if my cooks are cooking you really good food, a quarter of your tips is because of the cook's food.
Right.
Not because of your service, but because of the food that they ate. And that was really nice. It only happened at one place I worked at.
Right. I've heard of that. But, yeah.
We're so much. I've heard of restaurants doing it like 25 cents a big plate, small plate, like 10 cents, and they knew how many plates you sold by what went out the window.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool too for them.
I've never worked a tipped job.
But what I really wanted to talk about tonight was the promises of AA. You got those so you can read them, right?
That is weird that you would say that because I have this sheet. It's laminated. And it says promises right on the top of it.
Yeah. And they come from AA. I don't think NA really does the promises, but it's really talked about a lot in AA. And that's where I really strived a lot in my recovery journey was in AA meetings around a bunch of old timers. And they used to preach this to me.
Do you want me to read them one at a time or all the way through?
You can read it all the way through and we'll have a little chat about it.
Promises. 1. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. Promise 2. We are going to know a new freedom and new happiness. Promise 3. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. Promise 4. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. Promise 5. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. Promise 6. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. Promise 7. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows and fellow ladies. Promise 8. Self-seeking will slip away. Promise 9. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Promise 10. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. Promise 11. We will intuitively know how to handle situations. I said intuitively, and situations is the one that slipped me up. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. And then promise 12. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. And then it says, are these extravagant prophecies? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work on obtaining them.
And that is so true, honestly. Mm-hmm. Like, we were talking about goals earlier and whatnot, how I just checked off the last one that was on my list when I left treatment. And that was to get my daughter. I entered treatment August 26th of 2020. It is August 22nd, 2024. Mm-hmm. I didn't get out of jail till the 25th of 2020. So in a matter of just shy of 4 years of getting out of jail, I finally accomplished my last goal.
Yeah.
And it was by following those promises of working a good program. And when, you do get discouraged, you sit back and you look at that and, like the promise of knowing how to handle situations that used to baffle us like that really played effect last year because there was a lot of situations that would have baffled me, and I would have never knew how to handle them. I mean, it's like when I went through everything I went through last year, it's like I think I did really good. Like I had one major craving. I picked up the phone and called someone to talk to them about it, and that type of behavior would have never happened before. I would have probably just went and got a bottle, hid out in the woods, and went to sleep in my car that night because that's what we used to do. And now it was, no, I'm going to go to a meeting. Even if I don't share, I'm just going to sit there and listen to everyone else because it gives me hope and strength that someone else is going through maybe a similar problem and they're still sober. And that gives me strength and hope that no matter what I'm going through, that I can stay sober. And especially when we are white knuckling some stuff, like last summer, I did a lot of it. I asked you to go to a lot of morning meetings because there was one around here that offered free breakfast. I'm like, dude, why are we paying for breakfast 3 days a week
Like,
when we can go to a meeting and get free breakfast,
I'm not a 12-stepper, and I don't like being in those meetings.
Yeah, you sure did. It's exactly what you said to me. And then a few months later, you went to go take your state certified training.
There was stuff behind that one. I wanted to see. You shut your mouth. I wanted to see what recovery in a rural area of Michigan was like, because all of my 12-step meetings were in an urban area, the metropolitan area of Traverse City, Michigan. And so this was a population of maybe 7 people in this town, and I wanted to know what NA was like there. NA.
It didn't have to foretell a female being in the mix, did it?
I had met people at the training, and we went together, a certain person and I.
Oh.
Had nothing to do with
it. So a female driver.
They found it, and then I was like, that would be cool. I'd like to see that. See, you guys are just don't understand.
Don't understand.
And of course, the one time you call me all week.
You said you were on your way to a 12-step meeting, and I instantly busted you up. I was like, you hate 12-step meetings.
Yeah.
And she died laughing.
No,
you said driving.
You said, who you trying to impress?
Oh, I did.
And that's when she started laughing. Yeah.
I was like, who are you trying to impress? You hate 12-step meetings.
I didn't need to impress her. I already had.
You just wanted that time.
It was go do something like that or sit in my hotel room. Like, why not have fun? We went out and we had a couple other people. We saw the haunted hotel one night.
See, I would have loved to have been able to go to a hotel with all these people, but instead, when I took my training, they were still on Zoom. So I had to sit there at my kitchen table for a week, for 40 hours, and participate in a Zoom class. And I wanted to literally build a noose.
No, don't say that.
It was just
Trigger warning.
To me it was just really boring. By doing it over Zoom, I find Zoom classes very boring. Just not very interactive. Mm-hmm. Because you're not hearing them. Like when I went and took my ethics, I found that very awesome. You sat in a group of people and you were able to carry on a conversation. It's not like Zoom, raise your little hand and be waited to call on like we're in second grade.
Mm-hmm.
It was just more interactive. It was more fun. You could actually see emotion when people were talking.
Yep. That
type of thing. It was fun 2 days.
You get to, when you interact like that, you get to make connections and stuff, relationships too.
Yeah.
Like there was somebody that I saw at UFAM that was there. I never would have known that person at UFAM if they weren't in my training with me.
Right.
So
it's a good place to make networking skills.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah. So that's why I say that. I wish I could have done mine in person.
So you said something about the promises that I just couldn't let go.
What's that?
That you were following the promises. Isn't it how it's supposed to work? This is how I understand it. That you follow the steps, and the promises are supposed to be what you get after you follow the steps.
Yeah.
Right. You said it a little bit differently earlier, and I didn't want people to be confused.
Well, I mean, if you honestly follow the promises, and you, like the last one, it says, what you could not do for yourself, your higher power will do for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it really does work like that, because there's a lot of people out there that are like, well, I don't know how I'm going to do this. You really have to have faith and hope.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why they preach really hard about hope when you go to residential treatment. Well, hope happens here. We instill hope in you, and it's your understanding of hope that realize that things are possible. You start to begin to grow faith in things, because think about it. When we enter a treatment program at all, whether if it's intensive outpatient or residential, we're bankrupt on both those meters.
Yeah.
We have lost all hope. We have no faith left, because there's no hope to build up faith at all.
Yep.
It takes one to build the other, and you can't have faith if you have no hope.
At negative balance.
And that's what I personally believe. You know, it requires hope to have faith. Would you agree?
I think I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have hope that you're going to live and see tomorrow, what's your faith meter going to be like?
There's a difference between the two. Like, they're not the same thing.
No.
But I do think that they go hand in hand.
They do.
Mm-hmm. But you can't just have hope either.
No.
Like, you have to have the faith part, which I've always described as believing with expectation. Like, once you believe something, it's a step further. You expect that this is actually going to happen. And it's not like, I don't want to get people confused on expectations. It's not like putting expectations on another person. It's putting expectations on the outcome of your own hard work.
Right.
You know? So it's like following the promises. I have faith in this because it says that if I follow those 12 steps, this is what my life's going to eventually look like.
Yep.
And I can say that, you know, I didn't follow the 12 steps necessarily, but a lot of very similar things, almost, it was pretty much the 12 steps and just worded differently. And my life looks like these promises.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them. There's some of them I'm still working on getting better at.
Well, it's progress, not perfection.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of this stuff has gotten a lot better in my life. So I believe that I can do it. Then I set the expectation that my life is going to change once I take the action. There's the faith.
Yep.
Yep. And the hope is just there the whole time.
Yeah.
Love it.
Me too. So now I get to work on new goals. And we kind of did goals here at work. And I don't remember what my goals were, to be honest.
I still got mine somewhere, and they have changed drastically.
Yeah, I don't even know where mine are at.
One of my goals I thought was going to be really, really hard, and I had achieved it a week later.
Your notary? That's because I was like, how is this a goal? Like, you set this goal months ago.
Well, and when I was reading stuff, they're like, it could take this long. It could take that long. Don't expect it to be. And I don't know if that was how to be a notary in 1946.
Probably was.
How to be a notary in 2024. You can have it from start to finish in like a week or two. Yeah.
Probably less.
Mine was, I think, closer to a week. Yeah.
Well, because you also worked 40 hours.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you actually just had a whole day set aside to become a notary, you could do it in probably about 4 hours.
Yeah, you really could.
Because you
just gotta
didn't
go
take
down
no
there.
class, did you?
Nope.
Right, there's no class.
Nope.
You just have to get some insurance,
Yep.
right? Which you pay for up front for a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it 5 years? Because your seal's good for 5 years, right? 6 years?
I'm good till 2030.
Okay.
Yep.
So for 6 years, your seal's good for.
And it's actually 6 years and 3 months
Oh,
because it goes to your birthday that year.
nice.
So I got it in January, so it goes into my birthday in 2030. So
Sweet.
deal. It was like a bargain. But yeah, and it's the bond insurance is pretty cheap too. You have to have in the state of Michigan, they're required to have a $10,000 bond insurance. So it's like,
And I don't get why you have to have bond insurance to be a notary.
I really don't know. It has to do with fraudulent stuff to cover your ass, but it cost me $50
For a year?
for 6 years.
Oh, for 6 years?
Yeah, that blew my mind. I thought it was going to be like a whole bunch of money, or it was going to be monthly,
Right.
or it was going to be annually, which I was like 30 or $50 a year for 6 years. That's not bad. He's like, no, it's $50 today.
Dang.
And that's it. Because then I was like, well, then what is it later? He's like, there isn't a later. And he's like, no, dumbass. This is how these work. And I was like, I've never done this before.
Right.
So, but yeah, so it was easy. Got that. And then that looked way bigger when I tried to do it before. Then you just go down to the courthouse. Well, the government center. It's next to the courthouse here. Yeah. It might be different other places.
Most
but
counties that aren't so big, the courthouse is
Yeah.
all wrapped into one.
Yep.
We don't have 3 different buildings like you do in Traverse City.
Yeah.
You know, because like all your deeds and stuff is what they call the government center. And then you have district court and circuit court buildings.
And then that's when I thought even then it was going to take longer because you have to do an oath and say a thing and then sign and all this stuff up there. And there's another fee. It's like, it was like 25 or $35, something like that.
Yeah.
And then they sign it and everything. And then they submit the application to the state. And they're like, well, you'll hear back to 4 to 6 weeks. And then it was later that week.
Yeah.
I did it first thing that week, and it was later that week. And I was like, sweet. And then you can, you don't have to have a seal. You can do it all through writing.
Okay.
But having a seal's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So makes it easier too, because then you don't have to write it all out. You can stamp it, and cause it tells you what county you're in and how long your bond's good for. And all
Yeah,
that.
and you got a nice stamp. Like you just didn't get the ink dauber stamp.
Yep.
Neither. You actually got the actual crease in the paper stamp.
The embosser
Yeah.
with the gold stickers.
Right.
So you had mentioned for something I did for you that you don't have to do it that way if you don't want to, because you didn't want me to waste the sticker.
Right.
But I think you're supposed to have the sticker if you do the embosser. I think.
No, I've seen papers that are notarized that are just embossed.
Well, I'm not notarizing every day, but I was definitely gonna use the embosser because I didn't want to write it all out.
Yeah.
Screw it up.
When you get official court paperwork, someone notarizes it for the county, and they don't have little gold stickers. You could just feel the indentations in the paper.
Oh,
Yeah, you don't have to have the stickers.
it was cool though.
Yep. As soon as there's all those indentations in there, and we already know it's been notarized.
So if anybody's listening to this in Grand Traverse County in Michigan, and you need stuff notarized and you're in a recovery community, Mitchell O'Brien at 217 Recovery on 945 East 8th Street does it for people in the recovery community for free. It's a charge if you want it done mobilely.
That's where notaries make their money, is the
Yeah.
mobile fee charge.
Yeah, because I found out that you're not allowed to charge more than $10 for your signature. That's a law.
Per page.
Okay. Well,
Because if
they
there's
said
multiple pages.
they said per signature, but if
Yeah.
you have multiple pages, you have to do it on multiple pages. So it's every time you sign
Your signature.
your signature, it can be
So
$10.
one page is $10 a page.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So if you got 10 pages that you need notarized,
Man,
that'll
that
be
would
a
have been.
bill.
I could have charged you $50.
Well, good thing I'm in the recovery community.
I know. I was messing with you at first, and I was like, for a fee, and then I was like, oh damn! I said recovery community. I got to stand by my word.
Right.
And you're in recovery, so
And we're friends. Why would you charge me to notarize something?
because it'd be hilarious.
I'll remember that. Next time I go to McDonald's and just happen to get you a 10-piece McNugget, I'm like, yeah, those 10-piece nuggets are $20, homie. DoorDash fees went up.
$2 a nugget.
Yeah.
Damn. There are other free notaries around here, so you'll be fine.
Right.
But that's to come back to the promises, because we kind of got off on being a notary. Where does it say in here? Serenity. It's like a lot of this is talking about how your life's going to get better.
Yeah. And it does if you work a program.
And that's one of the things, like, when I became a notary, that wasn't something I ever would have thought to do. And I wanted to be back in my day before getting sober and being in recovery, but it was always too big. Like, I always needed that next bottle. Like, why would I worry about having to go get insurance and go to the courthouse and all this stuff when I was, worried about when I was going to get my next bottle. And it's like, I just chose a life and journey in recovery. And just like the promises say, my life got better and I was able to achieve stuff like that.
Right.
And anybody that's listening that's in the contemplation stage of recovery, it can happen for you too.
It will if you work it.
Yep.
It's like one of my favorite movies growing up. I don't know if you ever seen it. It's kind of like redneck for you a little bit. It's called Where the Red Fern Grows.
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Well, anyways, the moral to the story is, in the beginning part of the story, is this little boy wanted 2 coon dogs to go coon hunting. They lived, I want to say, Arkansas? Somewhere around there. I want to say it's Arkansas.
We'll have to ask Corey if there's a lot of coon dogs in Arkansas.
But it was placed probably in the 30s.
Okay.
1930, somewhere around there, because some of the vehicles they drove looked like the first automobiles.
Yeah.
Maybe right around World War One or two, like in between there. But they didn't talk about war in the movie,
When was
so you can't really tell what time frame it was, besides for the automobiles they drove. And it showed them that this little boy really wanted these coon dogs, and his grandpa told him, because the little boy goes, well, I keep praying, and I don't get what I want. And he says, well, son, you have to meet God halfway. You have to put in the work in order to get the things you want. And that was the moral of the story in the beginning. And then it showed like 15 minutes of this boy working hard and like timber fields, dragging brush, piling up brush, doing multiple little jobs, whatever he could do to earn a couple cents. Because back then, a couple cents was a big deal,
Yeah.
To earn a couple cents to save up money for these coon dogs that he's seeing in a newspaper or a magazine. And they sent off the money, mail ordered them, and then they came in, but they came into like the big town. And they weren't going to deliver them because it was live animals.
Yeah.
So they didn't deliver them out with the regular mail that you had to go pick them up. And his grandpa said, well, we'll go pick them up in a day or two, Well, boy took off, went and got his hounds. It was a great movie. I honestly love that movie. It was one of my favorite movies growing up as a kid.
It's got a good message.
It really does.
When was World War One? Because I know World War II, we talk about it like in society way more.
Yeah, no one talks about World War One, but that's when the UN became a big factor. We'll look it up real quick.
Because World War One, something always sticks in my head. 1943, and isn't it amazing how 1943 is almost halfway through the century?
1914 to 1918.
Huh.
World War One, or the First World War, also known as the Great War. Yeah. The Allies and the Central Power.
The World War lasted as long as COVID.
Almost. People are still catching COVID, dude.
Yeah, but it's like not a real problem anymore.
Right.
But anyway.
It says that these conflicts were generally fought over land, colonies, religion, resources, and dynasty rivalries.
Mm-hmm.
I probably butchered that word.
You did pretty good, actually.
Europeans, Western and Eastern fronts.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was all about.
I know that World War One was like the airplanes that were in it had like paper wings.
Yeah.
And then World War II, which was 30 years later, roughly, less than that, but roughly.
I think it was 1933 when Hitler took power.
That was 43.
No,
I think
43 is like when it ended, bro.
33 is when he took power, but he wasn't an issue yet. He wasn't killing like bunches and bunches of people yet.
Okay, 1939 to 1945.
Yeah, I knew something big happened in 43.
It was exactly 6 years. September 1st, 1939 to September 2nd, 1945.
Then America said, all right, it's enough.
Yep.
Dropped a couple big poppers on the Asian continent and,
Japan.
yep, said no more.
Nuked
no
them.
more. No more of this nonsense.
Yeah, we nuked them, and ever since then, no one's been allowed to use nuclear weapons. But the United States did. Let's be humane. I don't get it. But it made the world end.
The world end?
Yeah, the war.
The war end?
Yeah. I mean, in that time frame, the world did really end at that time, because there was so much conflict and fighting for 6 years. And think about it. I mean, everyone was enlisted to go to war. Like, they turned factories into war factories.
My great-great-grandfather was in World War II. I'm tired, man.
I feel that.
So,
Later.
yay, history. Later.
Thanks for listening to the White Knuckling It podcast. For more details on the show and for more episodes, log on to whiteknucklingit.com.